on the phone.
Oh my God. Did he hurt anyone?
A dart could have gone into a child's eye, or even worse.
I'm going to have a serious talk with him.
Mrs. Vanek, we've had the talks. We've had the sessions with the counsellor. We're going to have to employ a monitor for him.
Monitor?
He'll be separated from the other children. The monitor will supervise him one-on-one.
Samuel won't cope with this. He already feels so different. I'll have a talk with him. I'll have a serious
Mrs.
talk
Vanek,
with
the
him.
boy has significant behavioural problems.
You know, Samuel doesn't need a full-time monitor. What he needs is some understanding.
I have 24 other first graders in that class. Do you want me to put them all at risk because of your son?
I think I'll just find another school.
Mrs. Vanek, you can't just take the boy out of school.
You look after your business and I'll go and find a school that sees my son as a human being and not just as another problem to be gotten rid of.
That's very unfair. We're only trying to help the boy.
Please, stop calling him the boy. His name is Samuel.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pirates and ninjas, robots and Sasquatches, welcome to Two Guys and Some Horror, where your favoritist horror hosts, the bestest before the restest, Curtis and Clark, Clark being myself, and Curtis being this handsome devil with me, are going to talk about the Babadook. Kurt, how are you doing today, buddy?
Babadook. I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Thanks for picking this.
Yeah. I'm gonna kind of preface this with this is probably one of my this movie is beloved by me. I don't really like to use the term favorite, but if you make me watch this movie, or if somebody's like, let's watch this film, it's like yeah, I'd love to watch it. I don't think it's something I can really get too tired of, but then again, I don't watch movies over and over again. So, getting into the film, kind of the production value and the notes, before I ask Curtis his opinion, which I know you have one, sir,
Always.
and I know it's a great opinion. Yeah. And I kind of want to hear your negative opinion too, when we get into that, because this movie was directed and written by, as well as produced by, Jennifer Kent. It had a budget about $2 million, an Australian movie. Had in the United States, the opening weekend was about $30,000. That was just to be able to be up for awards and things. The gross amount it made in the United States is about $964,000, with the worldwide gross being about $10 million, which definitely made its money back. Other than that, it was released on the 24th or the 28th of November in 2014 here in the United States. I'm not sure when in Australia. However, it was filmed in Adelaide, Southern Australia. Curtis, kind of moving away from all the technical details and those notes, what are your thoughts on the Babadook?
So, you definitely asked that I give my negative opinion along with my positive opinion, right? So this is like the short, real quick, just how I feel. The first time I ever watched this movie, I absolutely loathed the child, Samuel. That would have been back in 2014, probably maybe 2015 when the movie came out. I was a very early, an early parent, I'd say. My daughter was super young. She would have only been about 2, probably around that time. So I didn't have the experience of dealing with like a 6 or a 7-year-old or any toddler who can talk and walk and be a person, right? So that's my negative opinion, is like I absolutely hated this movie when I first saw it, the first time I ever watched it. Just felt like kid was annoying, couldn't stand the story basically. But fast forward, we're in 2020 and my daughter's now 7. I have a 6-month-old, and I have a very, very, very different opinion of this movie now than when I did back then. So specifically about how the film handles the portrayal of a single parent raising a child, right? So I have to say this film, I don't know. The more you watch it, that goes with any movie. The opinion can change from day to day, or your feelings can change from day to day on it. And I have to say, like this one, my opinion has changed quite a bit. When I first saw it, I absolutely hated it, especially because of Samuel.
Yep.
Now I watch it, and I actually, I have to say, like Samuel is an amazing actor for a little dude at that time. He does an amazing job, and the mom is awesome as well. Essie Davis plays a single mother raising a child perfectly. So that's my opinion in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I think as we're kind of reviewing and talking about the movie, I'd like to, and I love your answer, by the way. It's great to kind of talk about like the first time you watch something and you're annoyed by this child who's not acting like your standard film child actor who are like little adults in most films. It's like they have the intelligence and thinking patterns of an adult. In this film, he's a kid. It looks like he has ADHD. He acts out. He's making weapons. He brings weapons to school. His mother is at her wit's end. She's working at a nursing home, and
you could tell
there's
like her job, like just bringing up her job, like she works in a nursing home. She has to deal with people who aren't as they can't do everything for themselves. So she's having to already fill her patient's cup or empty her patient's cup, depending on how you look at it, all day long with these senior citizens, and handle them and be graceful in it and try to do the best job she can and provide care for them. But her patience has to be completely shot by the time she gets home and has to handle a young child, and to be doing that alone. Like, I just add that on top because, like, as a single parent, I cannot imagine the frustration sometimes because there is no break. You can't just be like, hey, partner, go deal with this for me for a minute. This being the child. Go, take your child and let me go have a break. She doesn't have that really.
And I want to dig more into who Essie Davis's character Amelia is, like later on too. But I kind of want to discuss this as a standalone horror movie too.
Okay,
like
yeah.
you brought this up in our pre-show discussion, which I really want to dig into that. I think that's a super cool idea. Like if you watch this for the first time, like you would think of it as a horror movie without any, I guess, context. Definitely when we meet Amelia at the very start, it's kind of like a flashback scene where she's having a nightmare of a car accident. And she wakes up, the glass breaks, the car crashes, she's in her bed, cold sweat. We're introduced to her son, Samuel, who is overly energetic. He's making weapons, and he's talking about killing monsters with this super high imagination. And then he gets kicked out of school because he brought one of the weapons to school. The mother is very defensive of her child. Like, he's not the boy. He has a name. He's a human being. So she takes him out of that school, and she's kind of stuck with him for that time period. There's another character who's kind of their neighbor. She has Parkinson's disease, and she takes care of her on top of her job, like you were bringing up. So this lady, she's not making enough money. There's some details there. She has a bitchy sister who does a great job of being unlikable. The same, her daughter I don't dislike. Her daughter is just like a normal child too. The writer does a good job of making the children look and act like children. Like, great job, Samuel. Great job. I think Claire the name of the girl?
Yeah, Claire. I believe Claire was the cousin.
Yeah, and she's man. The horror aspect starts when a book shows up on the shelf. Samuel opens it, and it's about the Babadook. Chris, I want to hear
Babadook.
Yeah, Mr. Babadook. I want to hear you kind of talk about this.
About the book itself.
Yeah.
So going back to Clark's point that I brought up in our show notes meeting is like, I love how formal we make that, by the way, our show notes meeting.
It's the show notes. We just have a conversation.
It's like a 15-minute conversation right before we hit go. In fact, I probably recorded it, to be honest. But anyways, in our pre-show notes meeting, I talked about how there's two ways that you could watch this film, right? Especially as a new person coming in. You know it's horror. That's the first genre it falls into. But there's a second genre that's really powerful, which is the drama genre. And there are the two ways you could watch this is one is the paranormal possession with the monster, Babadook, right?
Right.
Or with the mother. The other way is just looking at it from the drama perspective, which is the struggle of a single parent raising a child, an over energetic child, a child who may have ADHD, a child who could be struggling with all kinds of different mentality struggles like we do as adults, but don't know how to handle it because they're a kid, right? It's like
Or just
giving,
a kid who's acting out.
yeah, I mean, think about it this way, like as an adult, you know how to drive a car because you have a steering wheel and a gas pedal and a brake pedal. As a kid, you don't have a steering wheel. You just have gas and brake. You don't know how to steer yet. So the kid's just going 100 miles per hour and then stopping, and he can't steer and get out of the thing's way. So going on about the book, because the book is the pivotal point in the movie, right about like 25 minutes in, I believe, when they find it in the room and they're reading this bedtime story. So Samuel already has a really strong struggle with monsters at night. You get that right off
His
the bat.
imagination's extremely visceral. He's beating
yeah.
the crap out of a monster before he's screaming in the car.
Yeah.
Because I guess he fell down, but they don't explain.
They don't really tell you. Yeah, they don't tell you from the kid's perspective. I would love to have seen a little bit more from Samuel's imagination, what he's seeing. But then that also takes away the realism, I think, because now you've gone into more of an imaginative view of it versus the kid sees monsters. Leave it at that. We don't need to go deeper, right? But it could be a cool little thing. But anyway, so he already has that kind of battle with monsters, and they find this book,
Right.
Mr. Babadook. And no one knows where it came from. Nobody really knows where it appeared from. But they start reading it as a bedtime story, and it is one of the scariest books you could probably read to your child right before bed. It talks about how Mr. Babadook comes to you in the night and hides in the shadows and looks, in the dark to attack you and to hurt you and to overall to kill you. And the mother quickly does the right thing and shuts the book and says, nope, never mind. We're just going to bed. But to me, that's where it's kind of, I don't know if metaphor or euphemism. I was struggling with what's the best way to describe some of these things. Maybe the best way is it's the visual, it's the writer's visual way of showing you the mother's internal turmoil while she's dealing with the emotions of her child. And in a way, she's trying to get him to go to sleep and read him a bedtime story. And maybe this is our view of how it's going, but really it could have just been a pretty normal book, but maybe it was scary. We don't really know. Take away the paranormal portion of it or the Babadook portion of it specifically, and it's like, I've had that problem with my daughter quite recently where I can't get her to sleep in her room, and we even bought books at one point when she was younger to try and get her to fall asleep, but the books didn't help. It made her scared more. And that's kind of the way I look at Babadook.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about that more too. And I kind of want to, if we get into I like the paranormal side. I didn't even know this was a possession movie. Like I completely forgot. This is my second time watching it. And the last time I saw it was in like 2016. And moving away from that, I thought it was like an actual creature because there's this kid and he's seeing this imaginary friend who's the Babadook. He gets the book. The mother's like, there's no such thing. She reads him the story. And the book itself is absolutely just kind of weird.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Like here, when she reads it, and she's like, he's a strange friend. Like it's goofy. It's a little pop-up book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's pulling the thing, and you see like the Babadook like waving his hand, and then it just gets creepy from there. And then she closes it. She's like, we're not gonna read this anymore. And the one thing, what was it? In a look, whether it's in a book or in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook.
Yeah, it has that very Dr. Seuss style rhyming in it, but at the end of the day, what the book does is that's kind of the trigger in both of their heads. It's, it awakens this creature, this monster that, we're going to see for the rest of this film in the Babadook. And
we barely see it. We see what it does more than we see it. And we do get to see the Babadook himself. She tears up the book and she throws it away because the kid finds the book and it looks like he read it himself. So she tears it apart. In this process of her denying the Babadook, and the kid saying like it exists, and he's blaming things that are happening on this imaginary friend that with his overactive imagination. There's glass found. I think it's glass that came from the window when he made that little. He makes a weapon and he like pulls it back and it shoots like a ball and he breaks a window with it. There's glass inside like this soup and she's like eating it and she's like, don't eat this. She doesn't say anything. She makes him something else.
Well, she's like, I'll make you something else, and then she just clears the table. That's it. And then she's in there pan frying up, something for them to eat instead.
I think he keeps blaming the Babadook, and she just doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the whole film, he's pretty much blaming the Babadook for anything bad that happens, except for when he pushes his cousin out of the treehouse.
Yeah,
that he takes full ownership for.
She completely denies it, and in this process too, like, and you're right. She gets the book back. The book gets sent back, and it's all taped back together or pasted together. And now it says something, I'll wager you a bet, the more you deny me, the stronger I'll get, which I want to get into that too. I want to dig into that camel words, like with what you're saying, like if this is less than a paranormal thing, the more you dig, you bury and bury and bury things and try to avoid them. Generally, they get more pervasive. It's kind of like if you're getting in that thought process, everybody has thoughts of things that they don't want to do. And when those thoughts get in their heads, there's actually a study with this man who had this thought about killing his wife one night, and he kept thinking about it over and over again. He's like, I don't want to kill my wife, and he kept trying to push it away. And he eventually saw a therapist about like, I'm afraid I'm going to kill my wife because I have this thought.
Right.
And it was essentially, hey man, you have to accept the thoughts that are coming in for here. But her denial of the Babadook makes it stronger. And it goes to that bedroom scene, which is the absolute most terrifying scene in the entire movie. I when I was a kid, Curtis, like I was terrified of aliens, and I wouldn't let my feet hang out of my bed. I wouldn't let anything hang out, and whatever my fear was, like I had the covers like over my head, just like she did in that scene.
Yeah.
Like, and then because she sees him climbing up
the wall
on the ceiling.
Yep, into the yep.
Yeah. And it's the stop motion there, man, makes it absolutely terrifying.
I love movies like this that less is more feel, where I don't need to see the Babadook in all its glory. The film cover or the movie cover alone is creepy. Shout out to them, by the way, on Shout Factory, which is linked to the YouTube episode if you want to check it out, the Blu-ray copy. It's the Pride Month cover. It's the rainbow flag with Babadook on top. I'm not really sure the history there. I didn't dig too deep into it, but it's really cool to see them supporting that.
Yeah.
But the original cover is just this silhouette of a man in a top hat. There's a giant door and a window, so he's basically the house, and his hands are like claws. Mm-hmm. And that alone, that silhouette of him alone, is, I don't need more. Even what we get in the movie is, it's very minimal. We do get that one shot of him coming down, right? When you're talking about the room scene. But that's it. That's what we get. And like you said, we get more of his actions versus his physicality in the film. But man, it's like less is more. That scene, you're right. I mean, it is super creepy. I still don't sleep with my limbs hanging over the bed. It's just now it's kind of rooted into me. Not necessarily something's going to eat me, but then again, like better safe than sorry, right?
Right. I also the covers are there, so I like to.
Yes.
But
so
no, it's scary.
Cover, that's such a neat shot as well because it's so close. The proximity is so close when you're filming that it's got to be really hard to get the lighting right. The getting her facial features, her breathing under the sheet, everything like that. And God, it is really creepy.
I think they planned that scene. I think it was propped up by the camera, but when she pulls those covers down from her face and the Babadook jumps into her, like that's when you start to realize, oh, this is kind of possession. Because going back to the book, when she gets it back, right, she reads it, and it's like showing her that it's still a pop-up book. It shows her twisting the doc's neck, and then it shows her killing her son.
Yeah.
Which, if you're a parent, or if you have these fears of things you don't want to do, but you feel like something's going to make you do them, like that's probably one of the scariest things you could do. It's like, ooh. She burns the book, and then she goes to the police, and she's like, "Someone's stalking me," and she's burnt all the evidence, so she has nothing.
So have you ever seen the movie Secret Window with Johnny Depp?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so
No.
the idea in that movie, it really helps, I think, paint a lot of the picture here, what's going on from the non-paranormal perspective of it. Basically, Johnny Depp's character is an author, and he concocts this other person in his mind. And that person starts antagonizing him in real life and kills his dog, does all these other crazy things, eventually kills his wife, right? But when the movie's all over and everything's done, he realizes there never was another person. He was that person all along, and he was actually living this other life that he didn't realize he was living. This movie has so many opportunities to do that, but it doesn't. And that's, I think, a big point from Jennifer's, her directorial vision, is that it was never about, it's not just about the single mother aspect, concocting these crazy things in her mind. It was an actual horror movie. But at any point in this movie, she could have went to the police, and she has no evidence. They could have turned it right then and there to be, well, she's just been building this Babadook thing up in her mind, and her son's been feeding off of her craziness, right? I don't know,
Well,
man.
the
The more
denial.
Yeah, the more I think about this movie, though, and the more times I've watched it, because we've put off recording a few times, to be fair, as well. So I have watched it quite a few times recently, making sure I've watched every angle, every way I could figure it out. And it keeps driving at me that this movie has so many different angles you could take, that there is no one true, like, this is what it is. It's a creature, or it's, I mean, she did such a great job. Truly
Smart. It's a
great
smart
job.
movie. Great acting, great direction. Just, I know, and a lot of people may not like it because the kid is annoying and he's very loud and there is obnoxiousness, but she sees other things happening, like roaches are coming through
The hole in the wall.
after the possession.
And
The
then
hole in the
hole's
wall.
missing, right? So
Yeah.
crazy.
And the social workers come by to talk to her about her kid because she took him out of school. And she's like, there's a hole in the wall. She cleaned the room, and there's nothing there. Like, it never happened. She just tore the wallpaper up, and she looks
Babadook
crazy.
cleaned it up.
You know,
You didn't, you never even, it was never
just-
even there.
just never happened.
So
it's all in her head.
Moments of Babadook, right? The cockroaches on her in the car when she gets in the car accident. The hole in the
And
wall,
she
cleaning it, not clean. Like, is it clean? Is it not
Almost
clean?
kills her kid.
Killing her dog. That's such a sad scene. Because the dog's just trying to protect the boy.
When she's watching TV and the possession begins.
Every
Like-
time that woman is watching TV, I feel like that is a sign that she is slowly going deeper into the, to the rabbit hole, succumbing more to the possession. Babadook's slowly closing over her heart, or whatever you want to
Except
think
for
of.
the 1-900 easy.
That was the first
scene.
night.
That was the first night, and then she goes in her room and takes out her toys, and her kid wakes her up. So
Unfortunately, she's interrupted. She doesn't get to finish.
yeah.
Oh no, we're
Yeah.
not doing this again. And then she just pulls his ass in the bed and says, "Go to sleep."
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh man.
dude, what about the scene where they're sleeping in the room and the Babadook comes and she pulls him out of the room? She's like, "We're not staying up here," and she goes down to the first floor and makes him sleep on the couch. Like, that's pretty gripping, pretty terrifying. As a kid, Samuel has no idea what's going on. He's not being attacked by Babadook. He's sleeping, but his mom,
No.
unfortunately, is he on the drugs?
He's
at that
able-
point? The sleeping drugs.
Right when the social workers are there, she has him on the meds, and he says he feels like he's going to vomit, and that's really the first scene that we get that. So I'm not sure. It might not. I don't remember the order. My brain.
Yeah.
I
No, I'm having that
it's-
issue right now.
Whatever happens, like there's a lot going on, and she denies the Babadook over and over, and it continuously gets stronger until the Babadook is the mother. she has been overtaken by this denial. The pushing it back has caused it to grow to the point where she is now the worst part of the film, when she grabs the cutest dog in the world and snaps its neck.
And when
And
she
that's
switches,
when
everything switches in her. Like,
Yeah.
as an actress, so commending her, like, you know, praising her for this. Like, when she switches from being mom to Babadook mom, the voice changes, her facial feature changes, her actions change, the way she reacts to her son. You know, she's overly aggressive and yelling at him for things, and her patience. This is at the point where her patience is long gone. Patience isn't even a word. She doesn't know what that means anymore. You know, which is amazing. Gosh, I can't praise her role enough. I think I'm gushing a little too much over this film. Probably a little bit too much.
No, you're great. I love it when you gush.
My opinion has changed greatly from this film from back in the day.
Samuel, this is where Samuel basically becomes the hero of the film, and there's some callbacks as well that I should praise. She does a great job. However she wrote the script, it was done with proper English, or whatever the words, proper structure for the story. Like, the kid touches her face, which, you know, the mom calms down. She loves her kid at that moment. All the kid does, the kid stabs her in the leg. The neighbor checks. Well, before that, the neighbor checks on her, and she's like, "We're gonna go to your neighbor's house. I want you to meet your dad," because she's been seeing her husband. Her husband, the Babadook, has been taking the form of her husband, telling her to murder the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "You're gonna see your father." And she's about to kill him. He stabs her in the leg. He ties her up, knocks her out. She vomits out the Babadook, and
That's when I was
the
like, it's
conference.
possession. You know, at that point, that's where my mind goes, it's possession. Because usually
Yep.
in like a exorcism style film, you vomit out or smoke comes out or whatever it is, however they
Yeah.
depict it.
I
Ooh.
think South Park copied that black vomit scene with Cartman at one point. And anyhow, when she vomits it out, and then the confrontation of the Babadook and her, it's like getting massive, and she's finally confronting her feelings, or however you perceive this. She's finally confronting everything. The demon inside her is just, it's massive, and she looks at it and she's like, "You're nothing," and she's yelling at it, and she's basically not giving up, looking at it directly, and then the Babadook runs away. She's chasing after it, like she's chasing these feelings, she's chasing this creature. Like, it tries to run away, and she just looks at it over, and she faces it, it leaves, and it goes away for a bit. But you can't get rid of the Babadook, so it's stuck in their cellar or basement.
Which I also feel is like, once again, going away from the actual creature portion of it, that is her going down in the basement to scream and let out all that anger that she knows if she lets it fester and grow will cause her to go back into her old ways, right? Mm-hmm. So that, like, her going into the cellar and telling him, "Hey, don't come down here. Go outside."
She separates her child from that. She's
separating it away. She's taking that break. She's going downstairs. She's letting out her anger. You know, it could be. Have you ever heard of those smashing glass places where you just go and break shit?
It's interesting that you say her anger, because at that moment she just looks at it and she's like, "It's okay. It's okay." Yeah. She feeds it. She gives it the worms. She gives it
angry self inside. It's okay. Let it out.
Yeah.
And you could see Babadook, Black Shadow, is angry and wants to just rage and do whatever he's going to do. And she's just like, "It's okay. You're going to be okay." She
feeds it.
And she feeds it. She lets it, she lets it get angry, you know? And then it kind of seeps back into the shadows, I think.
Yeah. That dog, though. Poor dog.
No, that any dog dying in a movie, we've talked about this time and time again. This is episode 67 or 70 or what, I forget now, but
yeah,
67.
But I really like this dog.
I'm so over dogs dying in films. I really am. And here I am getting ready to watch John Wick. Like, that's my weekend run. I'm going to do the John Wick series 1 through 3. And I know the dog dies right off the bat, and I'm like, I don't want to watch that. I hate that. Let's see. Do I have anything else that I want to go over? I think I hit all the main points that I want to do, but I just want to maybe talk about from Jennifer Kent's perspective, the writer.
Yes,
An actual
that's what I wanted to
quote.
talk about.
Yeah, a quick quote on just what she says that the story is about, right? So she says, this story is about facing the darkness that's within ourselves, and I think that's
Yeah.
probably why this movie has the way it plays out isn't so much about the creature anymore, or a monster flick, or a horror flick specifically. It's more, I'm seeing it more from the drama side because I read this quote, but it says the fear of going mad and an exploration of parenting from a real perspective. So in regard to parenting, she further explained, she goes, now I'm not saying we all want to go and kill our kids, but a lot of women struggle. She calls it out very specifically. A lot of women struggle. And it's a very taboo subject to say that motherhood is anything but a perfect experience for women. So I've seen it firsthand. You know, my wife, when we first had our daughter 7 years ago, went to a very, very postpartum, postpartum depression. And she battled that for quite some time. And I've seen women almost get to the point of that giving up, where they don't know what to do with these emotions that are swirling inside. And to some extent, everybody has that. Everybody deals with that some way, shape, or form, right? I have anger issues. Clark and I have talked about it on the Clarkcast. Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone has these struggles, but this film does a really great job, I think, of portraying women's struggles with their kids, especially from a single parent's perspective. Not to discount men in any way, but this perspective, the way she told this story and the way that she produced this film from a woman's perspective was spot on. And I hope it helped people somewhere along the way deal with those issues. I don't know, but I hope so.
Yeah. I'm glad, you know, and that's how I watched this movie was through her way of kind of looking at it, like this is you facing your inner demons and yourself. And I think anybody could get something beneficial out of this movie if they approach it as this is what real life is like. This is not a fake movie. This mother is struggling. She's financially unstable. Her sister, you know, she's lost her husband. She lost someone she loved about a lot on the way to the hospital when she was pregnant with her son. And her husband died in a car wreck. She and her son survived. And there is that layer of I don't want to say hatred, but I can't think of words whenever I try to pull them out of my head. There's that when you feel anger towards something, not anger, but like, you know, when you and your wife had a fight and you're
Okay.
like, I don't want to be near this person right now. Like, I don't want this person around. And that kind of builds up if you
It's
just
yeah.
kind of don't
Great.
pay
Now I can't.
attention to that.
Now I can't think of
Yeah,
the word.
yeah. I'm sure the viewers are like, are you serious? Are you
But
serious? Yeah, it
it's like this
happens.
pent up aggression that you start to build
Hmm.
up, right? And if you don't
Yes.
let it go, or you don't talk about it, or you don't get it out, it will eat you alive. Like, it literally will eat you alive. I know what you're
It's
saying.
not rejection. It's something like that. We'll think of the word like after the podcast is over, and I'll be like, yeah. But
I can't. Yeah, and I'm trying to like formulate the words, and I can't figure out. I can't.
it leaves you kind of showing the giving the cold shoulder to someone, not really. Anyhow, doesn't matter. You guys get it. Maybe repudiation's okay. We'll stick with repudiation for now.
That's too big of a
Just
word for me.
it is blame in a sense, like this accusative behavior where you're just angry at someone, reprehensive. Anyhow, these feelings build up as you don't pay attention to them, and I think this movie is great in showing that, being emotionally aware, accepting the fact that there are terrible parts to anyone. So not only as a horror film, I think this movie terrified me, because if I killed things I loved, that scares me more than anything else. Like a monster killing me, I'm like, okay, I've seen that before. Got a crazy guy killing people. Ooh, been done before. But in
Right.
the case of if you were to reject your inner inhibitions over and over and just push them away, and they grow and grow until the point where they overtake you and you are the creature, you are the monster, you are doing the things you hate and never want to do. That terrifies me. Become the thing you hate.
You live long enough to see yourself become the villain, or you die.
Or Batman.
Clark, thank you so much though for doing this episode. I thought it was a great pick. I really had
Yeah.
a lot of fun watching this one and talking about it.
Yeah.
I think, especially right now, end of the year wrap up. We've got one more episode after this, and then season 2's over,
Mhm.
guys and girls.
Yeah.
Season is over.
We might take a bit of a break before we start season 3, so a little forewarning. It's not because we don't love you and we don't love doing regular episodes. The holiday season is coming up, and the two of us, we need a plan for season 3. We want it to be stellar and phenomenal, and we really appreciate the listens you're giving us for our small amateur horror podcast. We have a lot of fun doing it. Curtis does a great job editing it. And
Thanks, Clark.
aside from that, yeah, no, of course. And that's sincere. And really what I think we can get into fun facts and trivia if we have anything.
I don't have anything specific that I want to talk about, me personally, with fun
There's
facts and trivia.
one thing is that they sold the original, they sold handmade copies of the Babadook when this movie was released for about $80.
Really?
And they were all signed by the director, Jennifer Kent. Well, the first 2,000 copies are numbered and signed by the director herself. The books, they're pop-up books, and they have additional pages that aren't in the movie.
Wow.
I think they're only like 9,500 books. So if you are a collector and you like this movie, maybe check that out. And also,
do you know if they're red covered, by the way?
I don't know what the books look like. I'm sure they look very similar. Especially if they're handmade.
Yeah.
I also know that in Hebrew, the word Babadook means he is coming for sure. So Babadook, he is coming for sure. I like that. And the director of The Exorcist, by the way, Curtis, and said that this movie is the most terrifying film he has ever seen.
That's saying something. I mean, it truly is.
Yeah. And the name Babadook is based off of the short film Monster, 2005. The director called it.
Isn't it also her film?
I think so. The director called it the Baby Babadook.
Yeah.
So, also,
I did read
the director attended drama school with the main actress, Essie Davis.
See, that's neat. I like facts like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. Also, this film became a meme for the LGBTQ community after Netflix accidentally placed it under the category for LGBT movies.
Is that why it has a Pride release cover on Blu-ray? Maybe that's why.
Like, that makes sense. Just make a meme out of it.
I mean, I did see a post somewhere online, someone asking on Reddit, I think, is the Babadook gay? And I didn't deep dive into the conversation to find out what other people on the internet, because people on the internet can be super toxic. But I did not go looking to see what people on the internet said.
Babadook is also an anagram of a bad book.
That's funny.
And also the noises, a lot of the noises came from the 1990s PC game XCOM, Enemy Unknown, which is one of those games I played on PC back in the day.
Hasn't another movie used sounds from XCOM that we talked about? The scanners?
I think they use the door sound. I think a lot of movies use the door sounds from that game.
Okay. That's neat.
Kind of, I think Doom uses those sounds too. I'm not sure, but a lot of movies use video game sounds. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, makes sense.
So also, Resident Evil, a voice sample from the beginning can be heard multiple times during the final confrontation. Like there are plenty of video game sounds used in this film.
That's neat.
And also, for a horror movie, Curtis, nobody dies except for the dog, which rip.
Yeah. I was hoping that the dog would come back and that it was all a dream, but alas, it did not happen.
There's one thing I want to talk about. When she gave Noah Wiseman the kind of the scenes about what they're about, she was extremely sensitive about what the movie was about. So she carefully gave him a child-friendly version of it. His mother was on set the entire time, and Wiseman was never on scene when Essie Davis was actually abusing the kid. And she's the reasons behind Jennifer Kent, she said she didn't want to abuse a child while she was making a movie, which is human. Very human.
Yeah.
So Jennifer Kent, I have props to you. My hat goes off to you. I tip my fedora with my neckbeard, and I tell you, thank you for this wonderful movie. It was fantastic. I love it. It is a labor of love, and yeah, thank you.
I cannot agree
With
enough.
that,
I cannot agree enough.
no, do you have anything else to say before we move on to our next segment, buddy?
No, I think it's time. Roll the tape.
Let's do it. Let's talk about what we're up to lately, Curtis. I want to hear about you, your life,
Sure.
the universe, everything.
Sure. So work's starting to, I think, get back to normal, like time-wise. So I'm going right back into watching more and more horror films to try and build a kind of a backlog of things that I want to discuss on the podcast. For one, a lot of planning and plotting for season 3, trying to figure out how we want to handle things. What kind of format do we want to keep rolling with? Just audio? Do we want to keep doing YouTube? All that kind of stuff. And then, just enjoying the holidays. Like you said, Thanksgiving is past. Christmas just is around the corner or came by. I mean, we're terrible at pretending like what day it is really the day that this gets released on. But yeah, just preparing for the holidays and trying to enjoy time with my family.
Mm-hmm.
What
I like that.
you been up to? Anything super fantastic and awesome?
Well, happy is what I have to say.
Wait, hold on. You cut out. Say it again.
I said happy holidays is really what I have to say. It's the Christmas season, which means gift giving, gift finding, also holiday dating. Holidating for those of you single guys and gals out there. Which COVID during the time, which, be safe is my recommendation. Zoom dates are great. But mostly what I've been up to is I have my EMT stuff going on at the time this is released. I absolutely jam-packed with too much going on in my life. So I've put aside video games from December 5th to till about January 5th. And I'll have some really good New Year's resolutions to discuss with you in our next episode, Curtis. Which I think, self-improvement.
Yeah,
benefit,
let's have a whole segment
better.
for that. Like in our big season finale, we can do a New Year's resolution segment.
I love that idea. New Year's resolutions for us individually and for the show.
For the show, yeah. I'll enjoy that with you. I think we'll have a lot of fun with it.
No. And guys, I think we are going to wrap up here, but before we do, remember to check us out on check out our YouTube channel if you haven't, which is Two Guys and Some Horror. Feel free to browse our social medias on the Twitters and the Instagrams. The number 2 Guys Horror Pod. 2 Guys Horror Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Curtis does a bunch of cool viewing sessions with the Mutant Fam. Also, sometimes I'll post a little sneak peek of what we're going to record. And I'm going to be a little bit more obscure with it. I think we're going to have some fun. So if you see something that makes no sense, ask, participate, throw things at me. And also, if you haven't checked out our Blair Witch episode, please give please throw a listen to that. Because Mimic loves hearing everything. He joins us for another episode. It was a great recording session. We all had fun. With that kind of being said, if you have any questions, you have any suggestions for movies we want to watch, we do allow guest viewers too. Just depends. We'll have a conversation and let us know. Our email address is the fully spelled out everything, 2guysandsamehorror@gmail.com. 2guysandsamehorror@gmail.com.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, we love you guys. So thank you for checking us out. And we hope you have a lovely new year as it comes up. And we finalize our year with the next film, which is a great, terrible movie. And that's all I'm going to say.
Goodbye.
Later.
Babadook.